This is part 35 of my preparation for NSE4 exam Fortinet. Let's talk about active traffic flow proxy inspection. Active flow with proxy inspection starts with three-way handshake on client side. The traffic destined to the cluster is sent to the primary FortiGate. Because all network ports on the primary, except heartbeat ports, all of them are assigned to a virtual MAC addresses. The traffic is destined to the virtual MAC address of the receiving port of the primary FortiGate. For traffic that is distributed to the secondary FortiGate, the traffic is destined to the endpoints to send to the secondary. So here is our three-way handshake from client to primary FortiGate, then from primary FortiGate to secondary FortiGate, and the traffic is sourced from the physical MAC address of the client of the egressing port to the secondary. Here from physical to physical, here from MAC address to virtual MAC address of port 1. So first step is SYN. SYN packet is the first part of the three-way handshake. Client sends to primary FortiGate from source MAC address to port 1 of the primary FortiGate. The packet's destination MAC address is the virtual MAC address of port 1 of primary FortiGate. Then step 2. The primary FortiGate sends this packet to the secondary FortiGate. This is sending the same SYN packet. And in this example, the source MAC address of the port is changed from the physical from the virtual to physical MAC address of port 1. And then it sends to the secondary FortiGate. And this change is called MAC address rewrite. In addition, primary FortiGate encapsulates the packet in Ethernet frame type of 8891. The encapsulation is done only for the first packet of the load balanced session. The encapsulated packet includes the original packet and plus session information. That is, the secondary FortiGate requires to process the traffic. Step 3. The secondary FortiGate, which is down here, secondary, responds to the client with SYN-ACK packet that contains physical MAC address of the port 1 on the secondary and as a source and MAC address of the client as the destination. So it sends back SYN-ACK packet. Step 4. Then we go to three-way handshake with when we send acknowledgement, the client is acknowledged with, and it says SYN-ACK client, step 4, sends to the primary FortiGate from MAC address of the client to the virtual MAC address port 1. It sends this SYN-ACK packet to the cluster, and ACK packet is destined to port 1 of the primary FortiGate. Then, from primary physical interface MAC address port 1, from primary, acknowledgement sends to secondary FortiGate, and primary receives the packet and knows that it matches the session that was previously distributed to the secondary FortiGate. And as a result, the primary FortiGate forwards the ACK packet to the corresponding secondary FortiGate. The packet is sourced from the physical MAC address port 1 on the primary FortiGate, and destination is physical MAC address of port 1 of the secondary FortiGate. So at this moment, three-way handshake on the client side is complete. Then we go to three-way handshake on the server side. So here how it looks like. This is a primary FortiGate, this is a secondary FortiGate, and this is a server. And only when this stage with receiving acknowledgement, when we have this with proxy, then we only after that secondary FortiGate sends SYN packet to the server. Secondary starts that connection with the server by sending SYN packet, and it uses physical address of port 2, physical, and as a destination we use physical address of the server. So FortiGate contacts the server only after it finishes three-way handshake to the client side, not before. The same behavior is seen when FortiGate operates in standalone mode and performs proxy-based inspection. But for example, as we later will study active traffic flow with no proxy inspection, then the order of the handshakes, they are different. So here, step 6, secondary sends SYN packet to the server. Step 7, then SYN-ACK, the SYN-ACK packet from the server is sent to virtual port, primary virtual MAC port 2 on the primary FortiGate, and the destination MAC address is virtual MAC address of port 2. Then step 8, from primary to secondary. From primary physical interface port 2 to secondary physical interface port 2 of the secondary FortiGate, this packet travels and FortiGate receives the packet and knows that it matches the session that was previously distributed to secondary. Primary finds it and then it sends to secondary. Primary forwards SYN-ACK packet to the corresponding port, to the corresponding FortiGate. And the packet is sourced from physical MAC address of port 2 of the primary FortiGate to the physical MAC address of port 2 of the secondary FortiGate. And step 9, which concludes this handshake, is acknowledgement. Secondary FortiGate sends the acknowledgement packet to the server. The secondary responds to the server with an ACK packet that contains the physical MAC address of port 2 on the secondary FortiGate as source and MAC address of the server as a destination. And at this moment, three-way handshake at the server side is also complete. And from now on, the packets that the client sends follow the same flow. So let's talk about the flow with client, primary, secondary. First, we send 9 steps. Client sends SYN packet to primary. Primary sends SYN packet to secondary. Then secondary FortiGate sends SYN-ACK packet to client. After that, step 4, client sends acknowledgement to primary. Primary sends acknowledgement to secondary. And after that, secondary FortiGate sends SYN packet to server. Server sends SYN-ACK packet to primary. Primary sends that SYN-ACK packet to secondary. And after that, second responds with ACK to the server. Those are 9 steps. And for example, the flow is the same for the whole flow if we have no proxy, if we have proxy inspection. For example, an HTTP GET request packet from the client first received by primary, which then forwards it to the secondary for the proxy-based inspection. If the packet is allowed, the secondary FortiGate forwards the packet to the server. So step 1, client sends a SYN packet to primary. Primary sends to the secondary. Then after that, when we receive step 3, we send acknowledgement. We receive after that SYN-ACK and then receive acknowledgement. And after that, secondary performs this. So the main purpose of secondary FortiGate devices, if we use proxy-based inspection, it is utilization of the secondary device's CPU and memory in order to process this traffic, but not for load balancing. So any server response packets to the client HTTP GET requests are sent to the primary, which then forwards the packets So it's step 7. The server sends to primary, primary then sends to secondary, and secondary FortiGate performs proxy inspection of the packet, and this way we utilize its CPU and memory, so not all of the traffic is processed via primary device. The intention of using only CPU and memory of the secondary devices is not really to load balance the traffic. In fact, because the traffic always from all endpoints anyway is sent to the primary, there is usually more traffic on primary than on any secondary devices. Next, we will talk about active-active traffic flow with